what's up, guys? I'm Patrick,
I'm Ryan.
and this is the Outside Line Media Podcast. Welcome in.
I
We're
can't.
glad we're here. We're glad you're here.
Yeah. Yes.
Basically, what we want to do is no matter how experienced you are with motorsports, whether it's your first race or your thousandth, we want you to have some entertainment here. Talk about a little bit of wheel and just kind of what's going on in the world right now. So
Yep. On the
happy to have
wheeling world. In the wheeling world.
the Wheelin' world, but not Wheelin'. Please don't sue us, Wheelin'. Please sponsor us,
So yeah. Well,
Wheelin'.
maybe with a better suspension, but we'll get
Yeah,
into it.
yeah.
We'll get into it.
We'll talk about Cadillac wanting to fly later. So
Yeah.
obviously gonna be talking about the 24. I was at home watching it. Ryan was actually on the ground in Daytona. Highly jealous of him, but I am broke and did not want to
I
take off work.
I am also now broke, but it was worth it because let me tell you, I've never been to Daytona International Speedway, and if you haven't, it should be on your bucket list. It is one of those tracks that I feel like you just have to go to once. The history there. I mean, less with the 24 and more with NASCAR, obviously, but even with the 24, I mean, this was what, the 56th running? I probably should have the information off head, but that sounds correct.
Wrong.
Um,
I
don't
think you
correct me
were
if I'm
right.
wrong. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but 56th running of the 24, I think. And I went down. We drove through the night, Thursday and the Friday. So my first day on
63rd,
track.
brother, you were way off.
63rd running of the Daytona 24. Close enough. And I went down there Friday and stayed, obviously Friday through the race. And it's great vibe. It's my first IMSA race, but as expected, I feel like it was every race I've gone to, like I've gone to Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and now IMSA and MotoGP. IMSA had the most access. The ticket general admission had full pit and garage access, paddock access, and it was very cool. The setup at Daytona is made for fans, and I had a blast just walking around the garages and seeing them working on the cars and just all the stuff going on. And
So,
I
how
mean,
did that kind of compare to when we went to the 8 hours of Indy with GT World Challenge? Because that was also pretty open, where since we were at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, just being able to walk through Gasoline Alley and all those garages, was it pretty similar to that, just to kind of a bigger level that you wouldn't really expect from a marquee event like that?
yeah, I think it was the size of it. I think the designs of the garages at Daytona were made with fan access in mind. So, kind of give you an idea of how it was.
It's
You
almost
had the
like it's not
garages.
100 years old.
Yeah. And every garage behind the garage on the opposite side, kind of in the fan zone, you could see a lot of them. There was windows that you could see into the back of every garage with the team number and the team name, and you could see them working on their cars. Right there, right through a window, by a little kind of rectangle window. And I mean, you could walk through. I spent a lot of time at the IMSA scrutineering because after races, you got to see every car come through and they roll one by one. It's a great time to take some pictures and see them all, especially post races. You get great views of it. Not after the 24, I didn't see that because of the chaos of the podium and stuff. But yeah, the fan access was great compared to GT World Challenge. It's similar in openness, but it's just shocking, like you said, because it's a marquee event and you're surprised that I can be that close to cars.
Yeah, it's not Toyota GR86s, it's GTPs.
Yeah, GTPs. Now I will say I never found the MX-5 paddock. I walked
It was
around.
probably like some of the GT86s were just like, it's probably was just by their trailer.
That's what I assume, and I didn't want to wander the campgrounds because I didn't really know where I was,
Hmm.
and I didn't want to walk. I didn't know what was campgrounds and what was team campgrounds. I mean, Daytona's big. It's very overwhelming. I was very overwhelmed at first on finding how to get around, but once you understood how they did stuff, it did make sense. They had two tram lines. Everything flowed pretty well, but it was a little challenging at first getting your bearings and finding out where the exciting stuff was. Most of it was all located within the fan zone, and then fanning out to the right and the left was where the garages were. And that's where I spent a majority of my time outside of my time in the grandstands.
Hell yeah. And got to meet a few different drivers, I heard.
Yeah, so I went through the autograph sessions. We're done. I've only been to IndyCar autograph sessions is my only experience with autograph sessions. IndyCar, both at Nashville and Mid-Ohio, has broken up into two lines, and it's a little chaotic. Now the 24 had a great idea. It was, I think, 14, 12, 14 lines, and they had like a spreadsheet. I don't know how they got it. I got sent to me. I think there was a QR code where you could get it. And it was all in the fan zone in those areas where the garages were. The teams were behind their garages, and then some teams were out in the middle. They kind of moved them around, but and they had sections that you could line up in to break it up so it wasn't just so chaotic and one, two big lines. And I was able to make it through 3 autograph lines. The main reason I was there was Kevin Magnuson. I got through his line. That's where I waited in first. I saw Hinchcliffe, great time. Romain Grosjean, a lot of people. I don't remember all of it. It was very because I waited in the K Mag line specifically for that, and then after that, I just took the approach of find the shortest line, get in line. I didn't even know what teams. I have the spotter guide poster, and I had them sign their cars, so I can tell you what teams I got to, but there was no real thought to it after the first line. But the access was incredible. It was nice meeting those guys, especially K Mag. That was really my only goal of the trip, meeting wise, was seeing K Mag because I've loved him for years. So it was very cool to see him. I think he's going to do great in WEC this year, and can't be upset about meeting K Mag.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him in WEC. Do we know? I should probably know this offhand. Is he doing any other IMSA events? Is he doing Sebring and Daytona, or Sebring and Petit, or was he just the Daytona driver for BMW?
I can't say with certainty.
Yeah, I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, that would be something to. But I think it might just be a 24 running. He's doing WEC. I don't know how the WEC schedule runs with everything else. I mean, Sebring's coming up not too long, but
if you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to be like right here where I put if he's running in any other IMSA events.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
I'll fix it in post. But yeah, I mean, great event this year. Great racing. I mean, it's always great racing, but I feel like even overnight when you have a lot of drivers being a lot safer and just trying to get your car through the night, you can lose that race overnight, but you can't win it overnight. And we definitely saw that with Cadillac.
Some races were lost overnight for sure. It was chaos. I slept in my car because I wanted to get some sleep. But I had the broadcast up, so I propped my phone up and I was sleeping, and I kept waking up to commentators being loud, which is never a good sign. yeah, hearing like, oh, and he's gone off, or and at one point I woke up to, oh, that car's on fire, and I was like, whoa. Very concerning. And a lot of races were lost overnight, but I mean, that's the 24. That's what I love so much about this race was you really did not know who was going to win until the end.
Yeah,
I mean, every single class except for LMP2, granted this was helped by a very late full course yellow, was within like 1 to 2 seconds. I mean, the GTPs you knew after the number 24 went out, but I mean, not really.
I mean, Tom was making some good moves there in the 60 for Meyer Shank. I mean, I was cheering him on all the way through the line, really hoping he'd get it. Really didn't make a huge dent, but he was able to get past the number, what was that, the number 6 Penske?
Yes.
Yeah, because it was 7 that won with Nasser.
Yeah,
which also just wild running a 3-person team for a front-running GTP car. That kind of shocked me.
Yeah, but there's some benefits to that because I believe that running a 3-car team changes your minimum requirement stint.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're able to run a little bit longer as long as you have the energy for it.
Yeah, if you have 3 guys that you think can do it,
Which, I mean, if there's somebody to do it, Felipe Nasser's one of them.
That man was wheeling that Penske. I'll tell you that. He was wheeling that Porsche. It was as much as obviously I was rooting for the 24. So I guess let's go over that real quick. Let's go over in each class who was you'd say your number 1 rooting. I'll go first. So GTPs, obviously number 24, BMW. They really were there the whole time. They qualified on pole. They were hanging in there near the end before they had the suspension issue from hitting the curb and then the bumper, and it was all over. But I mean, they were there the whole time. LMP2, I'm assuming it's going to be the same for you, Spike, which it was very sad to see him go out with those battery issues.
Very close second there was Pratt Miller, but again, we'll talk about that overnight crash later. That changed a lot of races.
Yeah, and then in the GT Pro, I was honestly just Mustang in general, Ford Multimatic. so the 64 or the 65. So obviously I was a happy man, but something about that Ford Multimatic tickles my brain. The sound, everything about it, delivery. And then in GTD, I was rooting for Turner Motorsports because honestly, main reason is we met him at Road America. And Robbie Foley, what a guy. So,
Yeah.
go.
For me, it was definitely, I have to look up some car numbers actually because I've got 3 GTDs that I was rooting for.
Bro, triple dipping,
and none of them came true. I was definitely GTP, any of the Wayne Taylor Racing cars. I was rooting for both of those Cadillacs. It was just sad 24 hours to be a Cadillac fan.
Yeah.
Just rough race overall from Caddy, between just trying to fly on curves, mechanical issues, crashes, just overall not a good time. LMP2, definitely Spike. I love AO Racing. I think they're doing great things for motorsports, especially over in IMSA. I think they're bringing a lot of fans in at a young age, and I'm always going to back them because of that. Speaking of, stop stealing parts from garages.
Stop going in their garage.
AO Racing had a ton of issues with that. I don't know why we have to say that garages are for teams.
Yeah, and it's very clear. I was there, let me tell you. A lot of teams have, pull out ropes, but some don't. But it should be pretty clear to you. There's yellow lines. They're not explicitly stated as where you should say, but I always stood behind the yellow line. Kept your distance. Don't walk in a garage. And to get into their pit area, I don't know how people manage that, but to get into where their trailer was, they were right on the end, and I did spend some time on the side of them because it was a view spot. But it's very clear it's not for you. There was tents, it was team stuff. Don't walk back there. And like you said, it shouldn't have to be said. Don't steal car parts without permission. Don't go in the garages. Just be a nice person, because I'm afraid if this starts happening too much, we're blessed by this access in IMSA, and I'm afraid it could be taken away if people abuse it like that. And I wouldn't blame them. Teams don't need their stuff being stolen. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of teams where if you ask them, they'll let you have parts. AO was very clear on their Twitter. They weren't giving away any parts, which, especially for a 24-hour race, 100% understand that. They want to be able to analyze what happened with those parts and be able to salvage what they can. They're a privately funded team, majority of it from PJ, from selling GitHub. So, I mean, they're looking to save money wherever they can, like every race team is.
Yeah, so they're not, and I think they also probably doing that for the reason of if they give away a couple parts and people know it's AO, you're never going to stop having people there. So I think it's a smart idea on their part to be like, hey, we're 100%. Giving away no parts, even if it's a scrap piece of carbon that's this big, we want it.
It is scrap ours. Piece could be the gold diamond encrusted 24 tooth. I would pay big money for that. Moving on to GTD, I had 3 cars in GTD I was really rooting for. The number 9, Pfaff Motorsports. That didn't go well after about hour 6.
Yeah.
Then the number 77, AO Rexy. Gonna always back AO, like I said. And then just because of the lineup, and I love what Trackhouse does with their MotoGP team. If you haven't seen their MotoGP livery, looks phenomenal. And just Trackhouse in general, what they're doing with Elio. He's going to be racing. That's Trackhouse, right?
Yeah.
Where he's running in the Daytona 500.
I believe so.
I think that's Trackhouse. I could be completely wrong. But Trackhouse is just doing some great stuff in motorsports. I really hope this is going to become a full-time thing for them, running sports cars. I'm excited for what they have to bring.
Yeah.
But I mean, just stacked lineup. You got Ben Keating, SVG, Scotty Mack, and Zilly in one car. How that car didn't do better, I don't know. They just had a rough time.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, it is Trackhouse, by the way, that is making Helio Castroneves. They're joining AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti to be the only ones he's trying to
win the
only ones
Daytona 500.
Yeah. So I really love what they're doing. Everything.
And
like
the 24 too. Isn't it Indy 500, Daytona 24, and Daytona 500?
I don't know who else has done that, but yeah, that's the
I
triple
think I
crown.
think AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti have done that. That's the triple crown of U.S. motorsports.
Yeah,
Which I mean, that's just huge. Elu is a great guy. I think we had the chance to meet him in Nashville. Maybe I might have met
yes,
him, but I
I
know
think,
I wasn't sure if you did, but I know for a fact that I had a chance to. He's just a
yeah,
great guy. Absolutely love him. Rooting him on for that record-breaking fifth Indy win.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Can't say anything bad about him, man. Just great guy.
yeah, and then GTD. I didn't really have actually a set team in GTD. Now I do. We actually found out recently. I mean, I was rooting for the number 45 Wayne Taylor because Wayne Taylor Racing. But Wright Motorsports is actually based just north of us in Batavia. Super
Yeah.
exciting. Got to support the local guys.
Yeah, I definitely want to add them to my list of teams I'm rooting for. You heard on the radio, and my mother called me, and she knows nothing about racing, and she goes,
Yeah.
I heard on the radio about talking about a team around here got second in the race you guys were at," and I'm like, first of all, what talking about that on the radio? That's cool
Yeah,
around here.
huge. I mean, this is our local AM radio station in
Yeah, AM
Cincinnati. Like,
700 WLW, baby. Now,
they're
it's
usually.
not on their website. They didn't do any article about it or anything,
Mhm.
but just mentioning it,
Yeah.
obviously the 24 is huge, and that's not it's up there. But anytime motorsports is spoken on any wavelength, I'm gonna be happy.
Especially, I mean, that was during peak commute too today because I mean, I leave for work around like 7:45. And I mean, that's when a lot of people are going to work. It's huge getting mentioned and shouted out right around that peak commute time. Especially
Yeah,
700 WLW. That's like your Reds games, your Bengals games, like
yeah,
all the
big,
football.
big,
I mean, both of the championships were broadcast on 700. I mean,
yeah,
that's the level of radio station that's covering it, and that just makes me super excited, especially with them just shouting out a local team. I mean, Wright Motorsports, great job with the
yeah.
P2.
Good job, good job. I mean, I know they have offices, and they still operate. One of their offices is out still in Batavia, so it's not like it was a thing they came and left. They're still there, and they have
Yeah.
another one in Florida. And I mean, that's weird, especially because we're within 2 hours of Indianapolis, so it's rare for a team to stay around here and not just go to Indy or that for IndyCar obviously, but in
Yeah.
general, I mean, a lot of teams non-Indy are even based out of Indianapolis. It's a very it's a motorsports city, so
Yeah, I mean, you've
I would
got
see them.
RLL. They're a little bit north of us as well. Their main office is in India, and I think they have another one in Cleveland, maybe. It might be their Moto America. The Ducati building might be
Yes,
in Cleveland. I know I'd seen some stuff about it. I was going to try to make it to a meetup there, but 5 hours drive was a little too much with the other things I had on my plate.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, let's just talk kind of general start general 24 starting with the pilot challenge, the BMW M challenge, I believe it's
yeah.
called now.
Yeah, BMW M Endurance is what they called it at the old 24. I had the pleasure of now the autograph session overlapped with the start of this race.
Hmm.
So I watched the start on my phone because where I was in the autograph line, I couldn't see the billboard. So I started to watch on my phone, then I went through autograph line. Obviously, I wasn't on my phone. So I missed the first hour and a half. I was staying up to date with it, but once again, first IMSA race, I love it. Then I went out and I sat in the grandstands. I first started around Speedway Turn 4 down to the pit straight. No screen, so it wasn't a great viewing spot, but just to see the cars fly by, get some nice videos, pictures of it. And I will say, every single car that's at sounded great. And I mean, obviously that, but and the Elantras, and I mean, it was good race. It was just
Hmm.
genuinely really good racing, really good stuff. And I then went down and walked over to where the turn one was of the Roval, and there's a billboard there, and watched the rest of the race from there. And I mean, these cars are fast, and it was good, pretty close racing. I mean, I it was down to the wire, so I'll go over real quick. I'll just do a top three in every class. So in the GS class, um, number one, the McLaren, and let me tell you, they came back. The McLaren was not looking great in the middle section, and they just walked down that Mustang and that Porsche in the end. And it was incredible. I mean, it was a McLaren, the only McLaren on track, and it was great. It was the number 44 of accelerating performance, McLaren Artura GT4 of Michael Cooper and I apologize in advance for his pronunciation, Moisey Ertsky. That's so wrong, and I know it is, and I apologize, but
Yeah.
close enough. I know Michael Cooper. I mean, they were wheeling the hell out of that thing. I'll tell
Yeah.
you that. That was a great drive by them.
Especially
Congrats to
that
them.
last stint from Michael
It
was
was it
nutty.
was some it was something of beauty watching him. Obviously, I wanted the Ford to win. What can I say? But it was beautiful, and the RS1 Porsche great. So then,
Yeah,
yeah, second,
That Rennsport Porsche. I mean, when that raced at the 8 Hours of India as well. I mean, that car is just overall a competitive car.
yeah, it's
Rennsport's
gonna be
doing a
there.
great thing with that team. I'm excited to see what they have this season. I mean, of course, I don't want Porsche to win
Yeah, yeah,
everything,
yeah. So they got second. That Rennsport, the Porsche 718 GT4 RSCS, really a great name of car. With Jan Halen and Luca Mars. Another great drive. You know, you can't complain about that. It's a 4-hour race, mind you. Even it's impressive. You know, any of these guys to be in the mix. And then in third, they had the core KOHR Motorsports. I don't know if it says core KOHR. I can't remember. Of Ford Mustang GT4 of Michael Elliott and Billy Johnson. You'll learn real quick. I suck at names, so I
I
apologize in
mean,
advance.
just look at that fastest lap from the number 44 there. 152.625. Compare that to the P2 lap time of 52.989. I mean, just gapping. Because then the gap from P2 to P3 is only 0.003 of a second.
Yeah, I mean they when they got hooked up and that car started going and Michael Cooper was in there, it was a thing of beauty to watch, I will say, and I had an absolute pleasure seeing that. So in the TCR class,
I was super happy with TCR. I'm just gonna say I'm a big
I
Colton Herta fan in IndyCar, so seeing Brian Herta Autosport taking a 1-2 for
yeah, it was
Hyundai.
beautiful.
Sorry
Yeah,
if
it was
anyone's
absolutely.
watching from Korea.
We're so sorry, fellas. Yeah, it was beautiful to watch those. The obviously, like you said, Brian Herta Autosports of Preston Brown and Dennis Dupont in first, and then in the second, another Brian Herta Autosport Hyundai Elantra N with Preston Brown and Brian Morris and Mark Wilkins. Sorry,
Yeah,
IMSA graphs. If you were looking at IMSA results, it can be tiring
it's
on that.
painful.
I drove back. I drove home overnight. By the way, last night. Had a long weekend. Great time, but we did drive, and it is about a 13-hour drive. So,
Yeah,
yeah. And then in third, the Precision Racing LA Audi RS3 of Celso Nito and Ryan Eversley.
I just have to say I am so mad for two reasons. Hyundai was so close to the 1-2-3 with Brian Herta Autosport. Like, I
It
mean,
would have been.
it was close. And you had Madison Oust and Suelio Almeida, which if you've never watched any of Suelio's content or like followed him on Instagram, he's an amazing content creator and just an amazing guy. I had the chance to meet him at PRI in December, and his step he took from being just a normal sim racer to moving up and actually taking over and doing real life racing with Radicals, obviously in the TCR with Brian Herta Autosport for the 24, and then he also does some Sabeco racing with, I think, not the NASA series. I can't remember the other series that they run with that. It runs on the Speed Tour though. Um,
Yeah,
but
but yeah,
yeah,
great. I
just
mean, yeah,
huge.
and to be in fourth, and I mean,
Yeah, having a one two
as much like
four.
yeah, obviously the 24 is the big event, but I mean, this is also a big event, and it's right before it. It's the day before, I mean, and hell of a job on them almost getting the 1-2-3 sweep, and a hell of a job to all the drivers in that race. I mean, it's a pretty clean race. I mean, yeah, obviously you got some bumping and banging. You're always going to have it. It's sports car racing. What do you expect? But
Yeah.
I guess this is touring car racing. But you know what I mean. It's IMSA. The boys are gonna have some fun, unfortunately, and sometimes the boys having fun, they bump and bang. So
Cool. All right. Next up, we've got the. Let's just kind of talk about the MX5 races, just come from kind of a high level. Race one, it was a shame ending under yellow in race one. MX5 Cup always has amazing finishes, especially at Daytona.
Yes.
Seeing people going four wide for finishes is wild.
Yeah, I mean it obviously you hate races that are yellow, but MX5 Cup produces some just insane moments, and race two, we'll get to that. It was a great example of that.
So race one, our podium for that was Tyler Gonzalez in first, Ethan Gollart, who's a rookie, taking P2. Great job. I mean,
Yeah,
first race out and you're taking a P2 at Daytona is wild. And then Bryce Cornett taking P3. Just absolutely great race. It's a shame with Grant Wagner going 5 laps down. Gresham Wagner, sorry. Um, it's a shame. Same with Weston Workman. Always a shame when you see kind of those mainstays of MX5 going way down the order for stuff out
yeah,
of their control. Um,
yeah,
is what it is. Yeah, and then the gambles that we saw on going to from Cicero. I think he had an issue with his car too, but then changing over to the slicks and just putting down great lap times after that. I mean, you can see a difference for the drivers that were around him, but great race
yeah,
overall.
yeah. It's good, interesting race, changing conditions, but any yellow stinks, but that's racing at the end of the day.
Race two.
Let me tell you. So I'll tell you my experience about this. I wish I was in the grandstands. If anything in the world, I would love to go back and be in the grandstands for this race, but I was not. I was actually watching this on my phone and running a little late to get in the track. And I'm like, oh, let me watch the race start before we walk in. Um, Daytona has produced big ones in the past. They're not known to be in the MX5 Cup, but um, if you haven't seen it, look it up. My lord, it was the big one. I believe 14 cars involved.
It was more than that involved. It was 14 or 15 that DNF'd, I think.
Yeah, I think it was right to me. 14 out. I mean, I saw a video. I believe you
Maybe
sent it to
not
me.
out, but 14 or 15 that had to have
Damage, damage.
extensive damage repair.
And I believe you sent me the video of the POV of someone near the back, and it was, oh my lord. And I can't pinpoint what started it. There was someone that bumped into someone in the back, pushed them into someone. They got shot up the track, and I think it was a cascading effect from there.
If you've
There
seen
was
the
some bumping and banging.
video,
There was banging in the middle too. I mean, there's multiple accidents all happening at once, all coming together. I mean, thank goodness for the safety. AMR safety team, we love you. I just want to say that we love you,
yep.
AMR safety team. I mean, no cars were seriously like there was no real risk of anyone being seriously hurt.
that
But
that
there was a lot of
first
collisions.
that first wreck where he just came up the track and went straight into the wall, a little scary. Being a
Yeah,
safer barrier though, not as bad as if it was concrete.
yeah,
Just that angle of that impact was it couldn't have been fun.
yeah. Especially
Which do we
coming
know
back
what
down and getting in the
happened? I
mix.
mean, it looked like he just turned into him and dragged him all the way up the track.
There actually was a contact from behind.
Okay.
It was a bump into a bump. It was just one of those. I mean, started me out of races. Daytona, that turn one,
They decided
as
to
we
really
saw,
take Daytona seriously.
as we see in the 24 too. That turn one after a restart or a restart can be really hairy.
Yeah.
But I mean, a good race. Pretty calm, a little calmer after that. But I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty
until the
hard.
finish. That rundown under the yellow line. I'm so glad we don't have track limits really in IMSA, unless it's gaining an advantage. But just sweeping down that bottom line from Jared Thomas and getting under that yellow line to take P1 at the very end, absolutely insane move. The ball's on him, just wild for pulling that move off.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, that was one of those races where the start and the finish were the whole race. I mean, you could sum up the race in two 30-second clips,
yeah.
and that was just insane. I mean, I we will both never stop shutting up about MX5 Cup. It is, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, just also just want to shout out horrible weekend for Gresham Wagner. He was involved in that first lap wreck too.
Yeah,
Um, I mean that's racing. Weston
yeah,
Workman was 2 laps down too, and there's no way he was 2 laps down just from pure pace.
It's
Um,
Weston Workman is if Weston Workman's car is finally going to get involved in an incident, he's going to be on the podium most of the
100%.
time. I mean,
Yeah.
he is one of
Maybe not
the
Daytona because he's
mainstay.
usually leading the entire race. That's kind of
That
hard
is
to
true.
win at Daytona.
That is true.
um, but yeah, we had the podium for that was Jared Thomas, Tom Burris, and then another rookie with Ren Messinger. So great job, everyone. The
Yeah.
gap, it was under half a second for the top five. Um,
I mean, you can't be mad at that. I mean, was it last year with the four wide finish? I mean,
yeah.
you're never gonna top that. But I mean, they came pretty damn close.
Yeah, I
My
mean,
opinion.
Jared Thomas and Todd Burris were separated by less than a tenth of a second.
I mean, you can't not love MX5 Cup people. I mean, I implore you. It's on IMSA TV. It's free.
Yeah,
Turn on the
it's on
MX5
their
Cup
YouTube
races.
channel, IMSA TV. Watch it when it's on. Which
It,
I'm
it,
also just gonna shout out real quick. The Racing Line mobile app. I'm just shouting it out. This isn't a sponsored segment. There's no way in hell we're big enough to give you guys a sponsored segment. But it's if you're a racing fan, you put in basically just all the series. I think it was $8 for the year or something like that.
yeah,
Highly recommend the pro version, if anything, just to support the developer. But you put in the racing series you like, you can just open the app and it tells you when that series is racing, what days, what times, where you can watch it. It's a great tool for every race fan.
and we both dealt with issues of trying to find a calendar that shows all races you want, and it is very hard. Motorsports.com has one but it's a calendar.
Yeah,
Getting this app on your phone, like you said, $8 worth of spend. I mean, it's great. It's great to stay in touch. I mean, I was using it on the track, and I was there, and it was
yeah.
helpful.
Being
So
able to
like
figure
during,
out where I can watch Formula E this year too was huge.
yeah,
Because Formula E is just so damn hard to find. Honestly, it's so hard to figure out where you can watch it.
yeah, a lot of it can be difficult, but say we get into the 24,
Yeah,
and boy,
unfortunately, we're getting into the 24. um, we're just gonna preface this like, yeah, Wayne Taylor Racing was my number one. Meyer Shank was my number two. Yeah, it was a sad day.
yeah, I mean, my number one in GTP was the
We got
24.
P2, but that's out of four cars that I was cheering for. And the other
Yeah,
three, yeah, let's
I
not
guess
talk
I
about.
can't complain. My GTP number 24 was,
Mhm.
I that didn't go great, but and Spike didn't go great, but I did have the 65 Ford Mustang win, and Turner Motorsports was in fifth. I can't be upset about that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think really the first thing I want to touch on is was it the 24 that was leading at the very beginning? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Was
they
that
qualified
Philip
on pole.
Ang that was
They
wheeling
qualified
it
on,
at first?
I believe so. I think he did do the first stint
Yeah.
on pole.
Parked like a BMW driver in the pits.
Yeah, I mean, it was that like crushed the front left.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look
Lee's,
horrible, but it was obviously affecting their performance when they came back out on track. It was adding drag in Daytona. You don't want to add drag
yeah,
because half of it's an oval.
yeah, you're driving on basically the entirety of an oval.
Yeah.
You kind of want to
Like,
you
yeah, it
want
might
that.
it, it might have made the front left a little bit heavier and lifted the front right a little bit, just from an aero standpoint, taking on that drag. But I think that was probably way less noticeable than just the added time in the oval.
Yeah, I mean that's just and you can tell what teams were optimizing for the oval. Like that's nothing like about the temperature in Florida was cold for Florida,
Hmm.
and a lot of teams got caught out by that cold at
At one
night,
point, it was the same temperature in Florida as it was in Cincinnati
which is terrible because
when I was
I
talking to
went
you
to
Saturday night.
I went to Florida to try to cool off or warm up. I still got sunburnt. I still managed to be freezing cold and sunburnt the same day. So I guess I really was in Florida.
The best of both worlds.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, talking about optimizing for straight line speed, dude, the Mustangs in the oval closing like 3 car lengths in the GTP Pro, not the GTP Pro, the GTD Pro category at the end there. I mean, it was looking good. Like, You put them in a straight line, they're going. You put them anywhere where a crowd might be at eye level with the drivers, then it might be a bit of an issue.
Yeah, and I mean,
But
those cars, I just got some. They sound, oh, the sound of those Mustangs, and you could tell. I mean, they were fighting those cars. Those cars are definitely, they drive like Mustangs.
yeah,
I believe it was the other Mustang that's not Multimatic, little gray livery. I'm blanking on the number at the moment. Was it the whatever it was?
Gradient.
Gradient Motorsports.
I actually
That
just
guy,
opened up my spotter guide, and it was the first car I saw in the
the great,
GTD regular category right now, pro.
yeah, yeah. The drivers of those cars, you could tell they kept blowing turn one. So it's a testament to that Multimatic team that they got that car under control, because you could tell that Gradient Motorsport was fighting around turn one under braking. I mean, a lot of cars were. The amount of lockups I saw over those 24 hours, because I spent about probably 10 hours total sitting in turn one grandstands. I mean, turn one's difficult, and doing it for 24 hours is insane. And it's a testament to Multimatic Motorsports and those drivers
Yeah,
that they were able to
definitely.
keep that animal under control, because that car wants to go and it does not want to go around the corner.
Yeah, and then let's talk about the big one in the 24. Um, Again, made my day no better by taking out Faf. They ended up DNFing from that. I know Pratt Miller, our friends over in Podium Pop, check them out. Huge, huge Pratt Miller fans. Um, Bad night for them too when that happened.
Yeah,
What was the car that kind of started all that? I don't remember.
I mean, I will say one thing about being at a race, it's hard to catch everything, and especially at that wreck. I couldn't find numbers. It's dark. It's the night.
Yeah,
It was some contact.
we didn't even know who was driving until I finally found a tweet from Pratt Miller that said they were okay. Thank
Yeah.
God all the drivers were okay in that.
Yeah, private side. I mean, it was a nasty one. And one of the cars I saw, one of the cars had completely lost its front end. But yeah, I mean, it was just that those are the scariest wrecks.
Yeah.
And when a car gets bounced back on the track after a wreck and is disabled, and there's a huge pack because there's
Yeah, I mean that
everyone's
was
there.
turn what is that going into turn 3? That's a completely blind corner. Because that was right in that 2, 3, 4 complex, wasn't it?
No, that was in 1-2.
Yeah,
I
it was
believe.
after turn 2 on that straight, right?
Yeah, well,
Kind of by the pit exit.
everywhere around there. It was just
Yeah.
chaos going through that section. People
Yeah, I mean
heading
that's
back.
completely blind as the drivers are coming in and taking that double left-hander there. They can't see it until they're on it.
And it's night.
Yeah.
And it's another thing about fans, I must say. Not getting out of the way of tow trucks is insane. I just might say that. I
Or
was
when
trying.
BMW was coming into the pits and they had to hop through. If you hear a loud exhaust behind you or people beeping, because I know those tow trucks are going to be beeping,
Honking.
they're trying to get somewhere. Get out of the way.
I wanted to see those. I found an area right where the pits are where you can't get to. They have barricades. A car is never going to come through there. I stayed behind the barricade because I didn't want to have to move and I wanted to get my good view. But all of these people just kept getting further and further closer, and they just had to keep moving them. And it was a problem, I'm sure, throughout. And it's just, if you're in a pit, keep your head up, keep your head on a swivel, be aware of your surroundings, because golf carts are flying through, cars flying through. But yeah, I mean, that was a scary wreck, and
Yeah.
it was the big one. And that was, we're gonna say, glad that one's gone. I ended up running over to a video board and catching a replay of it because I was wandering through the garages when it happened, and after that I went and started wandering through the teams that had damage, and you could see the drivers and they didn't look happy. I actually saw James Hinchcliffe talking over there, and I saw them talking, and obviously they weren't happy. It's a tough time to crash. Testaments to some of the teams that got back out there, but
Yeah.
it's
Unfortunately,
bound to
some of
happen
them just
eventually.
couldn't get back out.
Yeah,
One of them
I
being
mean,
Faf.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, and it was a big one, and it was one of the scary wrecks. Like I said, cars come back on track, people behind that are too wide just can't see contact,
Yeah.
cars flying everywhere. But luckily, everyone was good. No serious injuries. A lot of teams made it back. They're gonna go some laps down, but a 24-hour race, there's plenty of time.
Yeah. I mean, Talk about luckily nobody being injured. Let's talk about that new bus stop. I hate it. I'm just gonna say it. I hate it. I
Yeah,
understand why we got rid of it, why we got rid of the grass. I understand that. I'm not complaining about how it looks. I'm complaining about the fact that we put curves that launch a GTP car a foot into the air. Curbs that'll tear off the floor or tear off the axle or the drive shaft of a GTP car.
and we saw that. Those
Yeah.
GTPs were dropping like flies.
Hello,
And
the
that
93, that killed the drive shaft on his car and the suspension. The Cadillac looked like it was trying to take off. I mean, it was at least a foot in the air.
yeah,
Um,
clear.
and then the 24, that's where they got their severe damage, wasn't it? That caused the
Yep,
porpoising at the
yep,
end.
yep.
I mean, what are we doing, Daytona? I mean, I
Yeah,
understand it's a track owned by NASCAR, basically. I think it's owned by SMI. It's basically owned by NASCAR. Which SMI, give me Kentucky back. Give me Kentucky back.
we'll never shut up.
Um, or
We'll never
sell
shut
the
up.
track. Either do something with it or sell it, please. Um, that's that rant done. That's gonna be happen every time we mention SMI. Speedway Motorsports International, I think is what it stands for.
You're talking to two people who, in an autograph line, were telling IndyCar drivers to tell them to come back to Kentucky. So
And
we
they
will never
love
shut up,
Kentucky.
brother.
That's the thing.
They
Like
do,
IndyCar drivers who have driven on Kentucky love Kentucky. Bring it
and we
back.
need it back. And I hate that the last race. I hate that the last race is right before.
It was during COVID. It was like July of 2020. Or did that race
Yeah,
not happen? I thought NASCAR was racing at that point still.
NASCAR. I'm talking IndyCar wise.
Oh
Their
yeah,
last race
Indy. That
was
was like '08, wasn't it?
it was the race before Dan
Oh
Whelan died.
yeah, shit.
Yeah, I was watching the replay a couple of weeks ago, and they played the ads for it. Very sad, but yeah, come back to Kentucky. I went to it in 2019 and 2018, I believe. I went to 2018, 2019, and just had a blast. It's a good track. They can re-up it, put a roval in. That's that rant done. Back to
A
the
better Roval
terms.
than Nashville though. The Nashville Rovals threw a couple of turns in it, and that was it.
Yeah,
I've
but
never
yeah,
seen the Nashville Roval race. We just noticed it when we were at the Nashville race last year
yeah,
for IndyCar.
it's probably a good reason it's not right. But yeah, those curbs. I don't know why they have to be so big. I don't like the trend of I don't like big curbs. I don't like putting drivers at risk to punish track limits because
We've
at the
seen
end
it
of the day,
multiple times where it could have killed someone or it broke
yeah,
someone's back. I mean, let's talk
it's
about
not
that
safe.
Monza Formula 3 crash. I forget who it was where it launched their car clean into the air.
Yeah, you don't do that. Keep the curbs how they are. I get punish them for cutting the track if they drive over it, but don't punish them physically.
Yeah.
Handle it to stewards, get it done. But
And
yeah,
I hate
obviously,
saying handle it with the stewards, but IMSA stewards are actually on it, unlike Formula One. We're not finding out about it, an hour after the race.
yeah,
They're
they're
usually
on
on
top
it
of it,
right away. Well, I
and yeah,
guess it's
and
easy to spot a car flying through the air, but
yeah, like do that, and it's just it was sad because that's also dangerous. Losing suspension parts when we're turning onto an oval at high speeds, we saw it. The cars getting up into the wall after it,
yeah.
and that's not we don't want to send cars in the walls. And I mean that one, I can't remember what number it is, but when he went up into the wall, it almost caused another accident. There's a car dead low, car crashed high, and the guy had the
Yeah.
it got sketchy. It
Yeah,
was
car
really sketchy.
crashed out and disabled in the middle of that exit to the chicane. That's just, it's unacceptable, and they need to figure out a way to fix it before next year, I
Yeah.
think.
I hope that they'll learn from this year that we don't want cars dropping like flies.
Yeah.
We don't want Cadillac fans to be crying in corners. So let's give some normal curbs back. I would like to see, I understand realistically with the 500 not too long after and other events that go on there that you might not be able, I'd like to see some paint.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some, I don't know if it's possible with everything, but
Or
I
even, I
mean,
mean, it really doesn't matter for fans on the ground. I mean, we see what like Formula One does sometimes where they animate the graphics onto the track. Even if
yeah,
we
you can
did
use something like that.
that.
But I did notice that they like tar over the yellow line on turn one, so they clearly they can make changes. You know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's helping the cars not tumble. It's obviously not helping with cars blowing over in NASCAR. I mean, the commentators curse last year with who was that? Was that Austin Hill?
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, just I would wish it was still grass. I get why it's not, but I wish they would do something with it. I
Any
mean,
of you
I'm a
complaining
big
that you don't know why it's not grass anymore, just look up Ryan Priest's crash from the 500.
yeah. I
We don't
mean,
want that happening again.
it needed to not be
If
grass,
you
and I
don't
understand
follow
that.
NASCAR, I understand why you might not know that, and you think it's just because of blowovers, and obviously it hasn't fixed blowovers. It's more to deal with the tumbling as the car digs into the ground. So
Yeah, it can get real. I
watch Ryan
understand why they
Priest's
did it.
crash from the 24 500, and
Yeah,
you'll see very quickly why they got rid of the grass.
yeah. I really wish they would do something with the track to make it. I mean, it's a nitpicky thing to say, but if they could get some paint down, I liked it. Maybe even just graphics. I mean, I will say there is no actual clear viewing spot of the bus stop if you're not in camping. The camping is the only area. I don't believe there's a grandstand over there. If
I
there
don't think
is,
so.
I didn't wander on that side of the track. I stuck pretty much on front straight, turn one, roval section, um, which is where a lot of it happened. But it'd be nice as an aerial thing as a view. I think it would be cool. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and just a shame with the 24 at the end of the race. Kind of skipping towards the end because I mean not much happened other than I think we need to talk about the BMW and Corvette beef.
oh my God, was this amazing?
How was the 48? I think it was the 48, 46 maybe. I think it was the 48 that was 46 laps down or something like that. Um, how was that only a drive-through? Let's talk about that. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I would call that dangerous driving. What he did. I mean, braking in the middle of an apex,
you can't do
unacceptable.
that, man. You can't brake check someone in Apex, and um, I think what he did with in response, I get why he got a penalty, but
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious. And I will say, I was in the fan zone during the closing stage of this race because I want to be close to the podium, sitting down. And let me tell you, when that Corvette spun that BMW, you would have thought they just announced that Osama bin Laden was assassinated. Everyone clapping. The crowd pop was ridiculous. I didn't see a single angry soul. And if you haven't seen the photo of the middle finger out the window,
You gotta find
going
the
like,
one that NBC posted it, but they edited it. You gotta find one that they haven't edited. It is
yeah,
watching
opening the
that live was amazing, and just
open.
the arm strength of holding your arm out
I
at
know.
150 miles an hour through the banking. Like
And
that's some dedication. That was pure rage.
that was absolutely hilarious. And it is kind of funny how it worked out because the other Corvette did end up in second.
Yeah.
The number 3 ended up in second. And I respect what they did. And well, maybe I shouldn't say it. No, I do respect it. I do respect it because that was stupid. I understand.
Everyone
But
channeled Daytona. I mean, you had learning how to crash someone else out. You had the MX5 start, and I mean, it was a great race, channeling
yeah,
the roots of Daytona International
yeah, I
Speedway.
must say the end of it. I've been blessed by having on the 2 endurance races, GT World 8 Hour Challenge at Indianapolis last year. You're there as well, Patrick. Great finish. It was involving
100%. I mean, it was kind of a manufactured finish with that penalty. Not
a
really
5 second penalty, but
manufactured, but 5 second penalty.
you're racing a penalty, but that's still cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was
But
less that he was off by less than a second of that
having
penalty.
my second endurance race be this 24, where it came down, it was so close at the end.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking at the splits over here, and outside of LMP2, tight margins. I think I said this earlier, and obviously a lot of that was with the full force yellow. But I must say, I was just I have fear I'll never have good. The run will have to end soon of great endurance races because a lot of years at the 24, it's not down to the wire
yeah.
as much as it was this year. And I
I
think the
mean, we can
finish
just
was
pull a
great.
NASCAR and throw a competition caution with like half an hour to go.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible to all the teams. If you finish the race, if you're in the race, that's impressive. And the fact that we had so many teams finish on the lead lap in their class is just so impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just I was thrilled to be there, and um, I guess we should probably go through the winners. The end was a little crazy. Let's talk about that. Tom Blomqvist trying to walk
So
those
close
poor
to getting
Spensers down.
that number 60 to the win, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. If they had maybe another 5-10 minutes, I think they could have walked it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Um,
I will say
but
Porsche
this is the
Penske,
24
good on
hours of
them.
Daytona, not the 24 hours and 10 minutes of Daytona.
Yeah, Porsche Penske let their boys race, and I have
Yeah.
to respect that. Those boys were racing, and obviously number 7 got it done in the end. But I mean, I would have still loved to see Tom, like I said, walk him down. But I mean, a 1-3 finish, 2 years in a row winning it. I mean, as much as some not positive things I have to say about Roger Penske, that's the captain,
Yeah.
and good on him. I mean,
And
what a year! What a year for Roger Penske.
as much as you'll hear me say I hate Penske, I don't hate Penske. I hate the fact that they're good. It's kind of like why I hate Mercedes. I started watching F1 during Mercedes dominance. I hate Mercedes.
Yep.
And it'll never change. Unless they somehow become a Haas level underdog. But I think, yeah, I mean, it's insane what they've done. They've gotten 3 Daytona 500s in a row, I think. Or no, 3 NASCAR championships, maybe. But I mean, last year they won the NASCAR championship. They won the World Endurance Championship, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they did. Didn't win Le Mans, though. That was a Ferrari win last year. They won the Indy 500 and the Daytona 24. Kind of an insane, like, I mean, you can't, yeah, you can't disparage that other than the fact they didn't get the Le Mans win. I'm sure that's gonna haunt Roger a little bit, but he's got plenty to be happy with. Almost a perfect season, basically. Yeah, I think just to kind of close it out, Ryan, what would you say is one driver that you didn't see racing this weekend that you wish was racing in the 24 in any class? Just any driver from any racing series that you wish you could have seen.
Man, it's hard because the Daytona 24, the star power at that race.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many people there.
I'm sure there's something in his contract. I know Max did the virtual 24.
Yeah,
I
Max
wish he would have
awesome.
done the actual 24. I'm sure there's something where Red Bull won't let him do it.
Yeah. I mean, seeing Alonso there would have been cool. I know he's done it in the past. That would be awesome. Once again, might be a contract thing. I don't know.
I think probably the number one for me, and I know he didn't do it because of funding and wanting to push all of his funding to IndyCar. I wish I would have seen Connor Daly run it.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
I think I know he's run it in the past. And I mean, he's just a great driver. He's a great guy. Absolutely love that guy. But he has to put all of his eggs in one basket for running full time in IndyCar, which I'm super.
And we're happy. We're happy, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, anyone who can take a Yonkos Hollinger to a podium.
I mean, come on.
I think that's enough said.
Yeah, I definitely love that. In a sense, the Daytona 24 is an all-star race.
Yeah,
definitely. And across all racing series, and I do love that. And it was just every time I was looking through a spotter guide, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's racing. Oh my gosh, he's racing.
Yeah.
And everywhere you look, names I recognized, and it's.
I think LMP2 is really kind of becoming a star-studded category. I mean, the people you had running LMP2 this year was actually kind of wild. So I think that's really cool, and I'm looking forward to see what that can do in the future. So yeah, it went a little bit longer than we were shooting for, but it was a good conversation, I think. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know down in the comments what drivers you'd like to see run the 24 in the future. Who you're looking forward to. Shout out to everyone we shouted out in the podcast today.
Did we do the results? Did we do the 24 results?
Yeah, we did the winner.
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak.
Oh, we did? Okay,
yeah.
We did.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone, have a great rest of your night. Great rest of your week. Later this week, we're gonna be
America Raw.
What the fuck is a kilometer?
Ford is back. They're gonna be here to stay to dominate. Be ready for it.
Ford
GTD dominance is here.
Yeah, we're gonna be coming at you guys a little bit later this week, talking about kind of all of our preseason predictions before the NASCAR season starts this weekend. Looking forward to the Clash, not at the Coliseum this year. I forget where it is, but it's somewhere not the Coliseum.
Bowman Gray?
Bowman Gray. Maybe. I don't know.
Don't call
Everyone,
us.
everyone have a great night.
Misinformed. Misinformation. Have a great night.
I'm not finished.
Yeah, Ryan
Okay,
was
so-
right.
We didn't read the results, but that's fine. We'll go through. We talk about Porsche Penske, number 7. We'll just do podium for everything. So it's number 7 Porsche Penske, the number 60 Acura Meyer-Shank, and the number 6 Porsche Penske. I mean, once again, goddamn Penske, keep it up. And LMP2, it was really the only class that was a blowout because of Spike's battery issue, which Spike was dominant in that race. But it was the Tower Motorsports number 8, winning by 44 seconds. What they had the pace there at the end. The car was hooked up. Good on them. And second, the United Auto Sports USA number 22, and then the Riley number 74.
And like, let's just shout out the LMP2s were competing with. I think I saw an LMP2 pass a GTP at one point.
Yes, I mean, it was.
I think some of it came down to the tire heating issues that a lot of the GTPs had with the temperatures. Yeah. But the LMP2s were just able to fire up those tires so quick, and it was insane. Like, I know there were a decent amount of them, like, on the lead lap up until pretty far towards the end. I mean, it was only 16 laps in between the lead GTP and the lead LMP2.
Which is insane for 20. I mean, that means you're losing less than a lap an hour.
Yeah.
You know, that's great. In GTD Pro, Ford got it done at the Daytona 24, baby.
I mean, it's got
Number
Nice and
65.
Olsen in it. How are they not going to get it done?
The number 65 Ford
Nice was
Multimatic
hustling
Mustang.
that thing at the end, dude.
And second, the number 3 Corvette Pratt Miller. And in third, the number 64 Ford Multimatic Mustang. I mean, great on Ford. It's good to see them with this fast of a car.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to actually, see somebody win that you liked.
Yeah, I was really one of the only ones in the group, but, I got, whatever. And then in the GTD class.
AWA. Hell of a race, guys.
Hell of a race. I mean, number 13, Eddie David, good job. Number 2nd, number 120, right, Motorsports.
Shout out local.
We're fans now.
Yep.
I've been a fan since 2 hours ago when I found out that they were from around
I've been fans since it's 9:30 now, since like 7:45 this morning.
And then number 3 we had the number 27 Harder Racing. And
which shout out, I know they had some issues with their Aston Martin at one point. Shout out getting those laps back and getting 3rd place, guys. I am looking forward to Sebring 12-hour and getting to see the big boy Aston Martin and getting to see what their GTP can do. It's going to be weird having a non-hybrid GTP because that's just going to be running straight ICE, I believe. So the BOP is going to be kind of weird with that.
Yeah, M's actually, I was watching this in the time before we realized this, and they actually put out a video about how their BOP works and how they do it with the torque sensors. Definitely something to watch. IMSA, I must say, their articles and their YouTube is one of the best resources if you want to learn about IMSA. They do great breakdowns. The writers at IMSA are great about storylines and all that stuff. So,
I also recommend Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. They went deep into the torque sensors and how it works and kind of what it feels like when it starts kicking in that limiter. So I definitely recommend that as well to kind of get a driver's perspective of it.
Yeah. So March 15th, Sebring 12-hour. That's the next main endurance, big endurance race.
Yeah, there's some Wex doing something. I can't remember what Wex got going on.
There's racing coming up, and we'll be watching.
Yep, we're gonna be here with racing. We're gonna be coming at you for our preseason predictions and just a little bit of coverage for the NASCAR race this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. This will probably be going up on Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. So see y'all in a couple days.
Yeah, thank you.
For real this time.
Take care. Yeah, for real this time. Bye.